The air hung heavy with the stench of decay. Flies buzzed relentlessly, their incessant drone a constant reminder of the death that permeated this place. The smell was overwhelming, a putrid mix of rot and filth that clung to the back of the throat and refused to let go. Beneath the feet, the earth felt wrong somehow, tainted. It was as if the very soil had absorbed the malevolence of the acts committed here, becoming a part of the horror itself. Each step felt like a violation, a disturbance of a sinister peace. This was not a place of life, but of death. The landscape was desolate, overgrown with weeds and neglect. It was a stark contrast to the vibrant, bustling farms one might imagine. Here there was no sign of growth or renewal, only decay and abandonment. This was the Pickton pig farm, a place shrouded in mist and mystery, where the ordinary facade of a pig farm hid the gruesome reality beneath. The mist seemed to cling to the ground, as if trying to conceal the horrors that lay within. A place where Robert Pickton, a seemingly unremarkable pig farmer, committed unspeakable acts. His appearance was deceiving, masking the darkness that lurked within. To the outside world, he was just another farmer, tending to his pigs and going about his daily routine. Acts that would chill Canada to its core. The country was unprepared for the revelations that would come to light, the sheer scale of the atrocities committed on this seemingly innocuous farm. It was a story that would haunt the nation for years to come. The true horror of Pickton's crimes lay not just in the taking of lives, but in their disposal. The methods he used were as grotesque as the acts themselves, designed to erase any trace of his victims. It was a calculated effort to ensure that their stories would never be told. He fed the bodies of his victims to his pigs. This act of feeding human remains to animals was a perverse twist, turning creatures of sustenance into unwitting participants in his macabre ritual. The pigs, oblivious to the horror, continued to feed, their grunts and snuffles a chilling soundtrack to the nightmare. The very creatures he raised for sustenance became instruments in his macabre ritual. The pigs, once symbols of rural life and productivity, were now tainted by the darkness of their master's deeds. Their presence added an eerie layer to the already horrifying scene. The farm, once a place of rural industry, was now a graveyard. Abandoned equipment lay rusting in the fields, a testament to the life that had once thrived here. Now it was a place of death, where the echoes of the past lingered in the air. The ground, churned and muddy, held secrets, the whispers of vanished lives. Each step unearthed a new horror, a reminder of the lives that had been lost and the stories that would never be told. The earth itself seemed to mourn, holding on to the memories of those who had perished. The pigs themselves seemed to carry a darkness within them, their grunts echoing the terror of those they had consumed. Their eyes, once bright and curious, now seemed to hold a shadow, a reflection of the evil that had been wrought upon them. The image of it all, the pigs rooting and snuffling, their pens stained with the blood of the innocent, was a scene ripped from a nightmare. It was a vision that would haunt the minds of those who witnessed it, a stark reminder of the depths of human depravity and the horrors that can lurk behind the most ordinary of facades. Vancouver's downtown east side. A neighborhood wrestling with poverty, addiction and despair. It was here, in the shadows of a bustling city, that Robert Pickton found his victims. Women on the fringes of society, struggling with addiction and homelessness. They were the forgotten, the overlooked, the easy prey of a predator stalking the streets. He offered them rides, a warm meal, a sympathetic ear, a moment of kindness in a life filled with hardship. But it was all a cruel facade, a way to lure them to their deaths. Each woman who disappeared left a void in the community, a growing sense of unease that something was terribly wrong. These women were not random strangers to Pickton. He knew their vulnerabilities, their struggles. He exploited their need for connection, their desperate hope for a better life. He saw them not as human beings, but as objects to be used and discarded. He saw their desperation in their eyes, heard it in their voices. He knew he could manipulate them, control them, and he did time and time again. Each disappearance chipped away at the already fragile fabric of the downtown East Side community. Whispers of suspicion began to circulate. Women were vanishing with alarming regularity. The downtown East Side knew something was wrong. They reported their fears, their suspicions about Pickton, but their cries for help fell on deaf ears. The police, blinded by prejudice and indifference, dismissed their concerns. The missing women were marginalized, written off as simply lost to the streets. Their lives, deemed less valuable, were not deemed worthy of investigation. The police inaction allowed Pickton's reign of terror to continue unchecked. Section 5. The walls close in. Years passed and the body count grew. Still, Pickton remained free. But the net was closing in. A routine police search warrant, unrelated to the disappearances, would finally expose the monster in their midst. On the farm, police stumbled upon items belonging to the missing women. A horrifying discovery that shattered the silence and indifference. The farm became a scene of intense investigation. Every inch of the property scrutinized, every outbuilding a potential chamber of horrors. The air crackled with a sense of urgency and dread. Section 6. A gruesome mosaic of murder. The full extent of Pickton's depravity was slowly revealed. The search uncovered bone fragments, teeth and personal belongings. The sheer volume of evidence was staggering, a testament to the sheer number of lives taken. Forensic experts painstakingly pieced together the fragments of bone, the scraps of clothing, each piece a chilling reminder of the violence inflicted. The trial was a harrowing journey into the heart of darkness. Witnesses recounted chilling tales, painting a picture of a man who reveled in the suffering of his victims. The courtroom became a crucible of grief, anger, and despair. Section 7. Justice incomplete. In 2007, Robert Pickton was found guilty of 6 counts of second-degree murder. The trial was one of the most sensational and harrowing in Canadian history, drawing intense media attention and public scrutiny. The judge sentenced him to life in prison, with no possibility of parole for 25 years. This was the maximum sentence allowed under Canadian law for second-degree murder, a small measure of justice for the families of the victims. They had waited years for this moment, enduring unimaginable pain and suffering. But for many, the sentence felt hollow. The pain of losing their loved ones was compounded by the feeling that justice had not been fully served. Pickton had been charged with the deaths of 26 women, a staggering number that highlighted the scale of his crimes. But the Crown stayed the remaining charges. This decision was met with outrage and disbelief by the families and the public. The families of the other victims were left with a gnawing sense of injustice. They felt that their loved ones had been forgotten, their lives deemed less important, their loved ones denied their day in court. The empty courtroom symbolized the void left in their lives. The trial may have ended, but the questions lingered. How could such a heinous criminal operate undetected for so long? How could such a monster operate for so long? The farm where Pickton committed his atrocities became a symbol of horror and neglect. How many more women had met their end at his hands? The true extent of his crimes may never be known, leaving a haunting legacy of unanswered questions and unfulfilled justice. Section 8. Echoes of Injustice. The Pickton case exposed deep flaws within the Canadian justice system. The police's disregard for the missing women, their failure to connect the dots, allowed a serial killer to roam free. Their inaction was a betrayal of the public trust, a stark reminder of the systemic inequalities that plague society. The case became a lightning rod for criticism, sparking outrage and calls for reform. It forced Canadians to confront uncomfortable truths about their own society. The case became a symbol of the vulnerability of marginalized groups, their voices often silenced, their lives deemed less worthy. Section 9. A legacy of loss, a call for change. The shadow of Robert Pickton still hangs over Vancouver's downtown East Side. His heinous acts left an indelible mark on the community, casting a long, dark shadow that continues to loom large. The streets, once bustling with life, now carry an eerie silence, a testament to the lives that were tragically cut short. The pain of his crimes continues to ripple through the community, a constant reminder of the lives lost. Families and friends gather to remember their loved ones, their faces etched with sorrow and grief. Candlelight vigils are held, illuminating the night with a somber glow as the community comes together to mourn and find solace in each other. But from the darkness, a glimmer of hope has emerged. The community, resilient and strong, has begun to rebuild. As the sun rises over Vancouver, it brings with it a renewed sense of purpose and determination. People gather in support of the victims, their collective strength a beacon of hope in the face of adversity. The Pickton case served as a wake-up call, forcing a national conversation about violence against women, particularly those on the margins of society. It highlighted the systemic issues that allowed such atrocities to occur and underscored the urgent need for change. The voices of the marginalized, once silenced, began to rise, demanding justice and reform. It ignited a movement for change, a demand for greater awareness and improved support services for vulnerable women. Activists and advocates came together, organizing meetings and support groups, working tirelessly to ensure that the voices of the vulnerable were heard. Their efforts have led to increased awareness and the implementation of vital support services. The legacy of Robert Pickton, the monster who preyed upon the vulnerable, may ultimately be the lessons learned and the changes made to ensure such horrors never happen again. The memorial wall stands as a poignant reminder of the past, but also as a symbol of hope and resilience. Light breaks through the darkness, signifying the community's unwavering commitment to never forget and to strive for a safer, more just society.